Hello and welcome to another episode of the Mystics on a Mission show. I am your host, Hannah Beer, and today is especially exciting for me. I'm a little bit nervous because Erica Jago is on the show. We just recently met. She teaches in Amsterdam a couple of months out of the year, and that's really exciting for me because I got to meet her in person and take her incredible class. She also teaches online, which is where I used to practice yoga with her, and her flows are so beautiful and really very artistic. And so I'm just personally very excited to talk with her today. So Erica Jago is an accomplished graphic designer whose book Art of Attention was ranked #1 for book design on Amazon.com and is now translated into 5 languages, introducing a methodology of combining storytelling, emotionally connected classes, visionary art, and framed nature. Her week-long retreats inspire inner knowing, interconnectedness, and spiritual care. Her profession of design, integrated with her spiritual practice, teaches us how to embody the creative process and see design as a vital tool for transforming instructional concepts into artful and meaningful class experiences. Hi, so good to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I love it when you read that.
Yeah, just so excited. Okay, I would love to get started about talking a little bit about your background. So what's the story that got you to design and yoga and writing books?
I was a graphic designer in San Francisco. I graduated from the Ohio State University with an industrial design degree. And when I moved cross country, I lost my job like within, 2 months of being on my own, away from family and everything. So I found the next best thing, which was at an engineering firm. And they needed someone to lay out books and proposals for them to win jobs, to provide drinking water to California. And I took that job on very quickly and ended up staying there for 10 years. And in those 10 years, I had an abundant supply of grid paper, which allowed me to invent these osmoglyphs, which are very symbolic and simple line art that I use in my yoga classes. And I figured out a way to study yoga while I was at my desk laying these books out at the same time working this full-time job. And so within the 10 years that I was there, I ended up attending yoga classes during lunch. And then when I got certified, my work let me leave work every day by 4:30. And then I just started studying in the evenings yoga and then during the day design. And of course, we all know that yoga means union. And I found a really beautiful union between my two passions. And I knew I wanted to keep doing books. I just knew that they weren't going to be around drinking water anymore. I wanted to do it more around yoga and the healing that I was personally getting myself through these practices. And when I took the leap of faith and left corporate life, I paired up with my teacher, Elena Brower. And with her by my side, I just had this support that I needed to do something that scared me, but at the same time knew it was deeply connected to my purpose.
That's incredible. Yeah, it's so inspiring about you that you seem to merge all these different industries and just so many different art forms. And it's really inspiring to see someone merge it all and make it their own and be very creative about how to use design in books and yoga in books and storytelling. And that's really interesting and inspiring. It's really cool and so unique. So you mentioned a little bit about the challenge that the challenges that you were experiencing, like losing your job and then getting into creating books and studying yoga on the side. So what was the biggest challenge that you experienced on your path here?
My biggest challenge was, learning how to always be in a safe space, no matter what was going on around me. I know that when I don't feel safe, then my perception becomes very naive. I start to obsess and overanalyze everything, and that tendency puts me in a state of fear. And that can really be like a snowball effect, particularly when you're trying to do something that's never been done before. And what I've learned over, I've now been, I think, I left my job in 2011. So it's been 6 or 7 years now that I've been a freelancer on my own, and just following my heart, working for myself, not taking on clients, but just merely doing what I want to be doing. And so how I create safety in those moments is using the practices of just going into my chakra system and filling myself up in the belly, filling myself up in my third chakra, knowing my identity, knowing how to love myself, knowing how to express and say what needs to be said in moments where I don't feel safe. And a lot of times the tendency is to rely on other people to provide for us things that we know we can do for ourselves. And I've had those lessons. And, coming from this state of victimhood and thinking that someone did something wrong to me, and all of those things are not true. And that's where I've really gained my strength over the past few years, is just learning how to rely on myself and how to create safety so that I can go after things that scare me.
This so resonates with me. When I first started my business, my mom said, well, you're just never going to have safety. That's just not going to be, like, you can't be working for yourself and have safety. You can't be an entrepreneur and be safe at the same time. And I was listening to her, and I so understood her perspective, because most people do think that safety comes from contracts or people telling you it's okay, or industries, or any kind of external thing. But that's never the reality. Even people, well, just today, this morning, actually, I was talking to a couple of my friends, because I have a degree in fashion design, fashion management. I wish. It's not, I don't know what came out there, but I don't have a degree in fashion design. I have a degree in fashion management. And so they're working for a really big company, a lingerie company, and the company is currently downsizing. And they were always so, they always admired me, and they were like, oh my God, Hannah, how can you do this? And it's so awesome that you're running your own business. I can never leave the safety. And today I'm talking with them, and I'm the one feeling safe. I'm the one saying, well, it's in my own hands. My business is completely in my own hands. And well, it's like there's never safety. That's my point. Like, from an outside, like the external world can never give you that. And it's really cool when we learn to cultivate that in ourselves, like you said, through working with the chakras, or even just realizing that life is ever changing. Like, the feeling of safety from an external source is always some kind of illusion, because only when we resist the flow of change is when we feel like uncertainty and unsafety happens. But that's just such a natural process of the creative process as well. It's like I'm always feeling uncertain. I never really know what's going to happen in the future anyway. So all I know is, like you said, who I am. All I know is the truth of how the world works and how my body works. And that's really comforting.
Yes, very well said, without a doubt.
Yeah, it holds so many people back. And it's such an illusion.
It is an illusion, right? Because we get caught up in those biweekly paychecks coming in. And it's a journey of getting to know that. And that's why I totally believe in just keep returning to the practices, keep using our hands as a way of placing them on our body, putting our attention inside, and then just visualizing ourselves being filled with so much security, so much support, so much love, and staying present in the moment.
Yeah. And that always works unfailingly. And that's the security. You can create it. That's what people are looking for. It's on-demand security. Just snap your fingers and create it. But it's true.
Yeah, and the more we do it, the more we're able to rely on ourselves and really take refuge inside. So I feel like after all of these years of practicing, I'm finally getting it, and that's the growth and the maturity that I've really been waiting for.
Yeah. Yeah, and I especially loved, I think I heard you say something like this made you, I don't know if I'm really recreating it now, but I heard something in what you said earlier about the safety that you've cultivated for yourself, having made it easier for you to really step into your creativity. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Well, right now, I just moved back to Hawaii, so I wanderlust a lot, and that's the life. That's the life that I designed for myself. About 5 or 6 years ago, it was my dream to travel the world and to teach global retreats and to hold workshops and then to work on all of the promotion and the advertisements of that through my own design. And that's precisely what I've been doing. What I'm finding is that as I travel from location to location, I enter into a collective consciousness that, like people in Amsterdam, everyone's in an agreement to a certain way of living, a certain way of life. Not to mention the land mass that you're on has a certain energy. There's been, a lot of war, a lot of trauma, a lot of stuff as compared to in Hawaii, where the land is very new. There hasn't been a lot of war here. There isn't, there's a certain mindset here that's really revolved around nature and being in the water and in the ocean. And as a person, a lone wolf traveling from location to location, there's an adjustment period that I have of coming into that place. And as we all know, creativity is not a linear process. It happens when it happens, most likely. And I used to believe that to a certain extent, but what I'm finding more and more is that even though I'm bouncing around from location to location, I can still create a structure. I can still create morning rituals. I can still have a feasible bedtime where I get enough rest. I know that I need 3 meals a day. All of this stuff is basic root chakra tendencies to go in there and to take care of ourselves in these ways. And to me, that's my safety, is the structure.
Mm-hmm. I love this. Yeah, it's really interesting. What comes up for me is the masculine component of life, like the masculine container to creativity so that you can really let go. And having those structures, having, the self-care planned out and knowing that you're going to be fed and knowing that you're going to be well rested. This is really the basis so that you can really be creative and create whatever wants to come through.
I love, yeah, exactly. When I first started a lot of the work around my own healing, inner child work was presented to me in many different ways, and it was a very hard concept for me to relate to. And I even had photos of myself as a child and trying to empathize and bring myself compassion and not to be so hard on myself by treating myself as a baby. And when I was introduced to this way of thinking that I'm my own mother and my own father, I'm my own masculine and feminine, that really started to resonate with me in a way that hadn't before. And so when you talk about the masculine component of the container, then the feminine component being that creative power, to me, that is so spot on, because as I'm, as a woman and getting to know my feminine identity, women are the ones with all the power. And I don't mean that as in like a tyranny, like we have power over someone. I mean that if we allow ourselves to open and to be held by the masculine comes along for that ride. The masculine needs us to open up to the universe. And that power is so, I'm even getting goosebumps right now thinking about us as women, what we have. And on my retreats, we've been able to tap into that and into the second chakra and into this creative of intimacy. And the way that's being translated through my relationships is that I'm really conscious the way that I treat the men in my lives, and I want to support them. And I really see us women taking the power that we have and sometimes talking down to or not feeling like men are equal to us, only because we do need such a masculine healing. And so what I'm personally trying to do is just trying to see us all as level playing fields, and to not use men in a way to become more powerful, but to collaborate with men in the classroom and on my retreats as a way of just exactly like you said, containing that power.
Mm-hmm.
That makes any sense.
I love that. It's like when you have the feminine, it's like this drop of ocean water, like a big drop in my hands now, and you just like let it go without my hands being the container. It just spills everywhere. Like it's not, there's nothing you can really do with it. And the feminine doesn't just want to like spill. The feminine wants to
Right.
be contained, like it needs some kind of direction. And one doesn't work without the other.
Yeah.
So everything's really needed. I love that.
Yeah. And of course, back to where we originally started, this is within ourselves. We are our own mother and father. We are our own masculine and feminine. And then from there, we start to move out into relationships. And then that's ultimately how we start to create world peace.
Mm, I love this. I feel like I personally haven't been able to really um, be those archetypes for other people before I was it for myself. Like before I was able to really become a mother to myself and see myself through those motherly, unconditionally loving eyes, I wasn't really able to see other people that way. I was thinking I was able to, but not really. Like it wasn't totally unconditional or in the same sense. Um, Being a sister to someone before I was able to really be a sister to myself, it always felt like it wasn't real. And so I really love what you say about it being in ourselves and the archetypes always being there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see what you're saying. The archetypes of the mother, the archetypes of the creative or the artist. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm working with a lot of archetypes, so I'm always like jumping from place to place. But yeah, I'm a
No, I
princess.
found too. The archetypes for sure. They help us bring in a certain energy. Like, for example, at the second chakra retreat in Mexico, my I co-hosted with Mari Carmen Sierra, and we worked with the four archetypes of the sensual. So the priestess, the maiden, the wild woman, and which was the other one? The seductress.
Mm,
Yeah.
I love that.
And yeah, I mean, it was because it's true. There's a lot of programming that we have around how women should be, like whether we're more of like the seductress, it doesn't have to always turn into this like sexual sort of way. And I mean, yeah, we do have power in that way, but it doesn't have to be, that's what I love studying about the priestess, is that when the priestess walks into the room, like her mere presence can shift the environment. The seductress can definitely start to call in or start to attract an energy that's much larger than herself through her words and her ways. But to be conscious of what our intentions are and our motives are behind it, that to me is the root of archetype studying.
Hmm. I love this. It's so, when I first discovered archetypal work, whether it was, with the 13 priestess archetypes that I tend to work with, or even other archetypes, it's so incredible what other parts of yourself you're developing, because oftentimes people come to coaching and self-development thinking that they have a certain character, or thinking that they have to fit a certain role, and it's just their persona, really. And through this archetypal work, it's really awesome to be able to become more whole and to be able to call in parts of ourselves that maybe we've really resisted. And that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally, what's been really helpful for me is on Pinterest, I started a board called Future Femme.
Mm-hmm.
And we, as a group, we have a small community now around Lamar Muses, where we start to think of ourselves and give ourselves permission to be 20 different women. You don't have to be it's almost kind of like Sex in the City. You have those characters of women. It could be the Charlotte, you could be the Carrie, or you could be, all of us have all of that in us. We're a part of every one of those characters. And that's kind of like the archetype. And you can call that in any type, and we can shape shift into that in any moment, which is so fun.
Mm-hmm. I love this, because then it's like a toolbox almost. If you need some vision, you call in this one archetype, or, if you need some confidence, you just embody the queen for a day. It's really awesome when you're trained in those archetypes and when you've embodied them, because embodiment of them is, actually the key. And I'm sure through yoga and through movement and all this kind of stuff, it's just really cool when you can call in those archetypes.
Yes. Yeah.
So I can see you getting very excited. What else do you love about your work?
Oh, well, let's see. I love that I'm my own boss. That's great. It has its ups and downs. And the past year, like I mentioned, I really learned structure. And I think creativity needs structure. What I also love about my work is that, as you mentioned before, it is a very authentic offering that I have. And I am very much a hermit. Like I live by myself. I'm on one of the most remote island chains in the world. Um, and I spend a lot of time reading and journaling. So for me, like a perfect day is to wake up and to have quiet time and to make tea. I love tea ceremonies. I love cacao ceremonies. I love just very quiet inward ways of like starting the digestion, um, even going outside and listening. I have a mango tree in my backyard right now, and I've been listening to birds lately. So sound to me is kind of a new object of meditation. And then from there, this morning I woke up and I dressed as the priestess. I wore my priestess coat. I started to invoke that energy of like alchemy because I know I have a lot of creativity to do today. I'm laying out chapter 6 of my new upcoming book, which is all focused around, chapter 6 is focused around the third eye. And so last night in my writing before bed, because I always write before bed, I wrote a letter to my third eye. I said, "Dear third eye," is how I started the letter. And then I started to write. And then before I fall asleep, I program my subconscious mind. I knew this morning I had to wake up and do graphic design on the third eye. So I commanded my subconscious to please bring me ideas and inspiration around third eye graphics. And so now I feel really charged this morning. I have my call with you, and then I have my call with my co-author from Amsterdam. So I have a lot of Amsterdam connection this morning. And then the rest of my afternoon will be dropped into InDesign and doing creative work. So it's a lot of pre-planning. It's a lot of day design. It's really important for me to have a clear vision of how I want to conduct myself during the day.
That's so interesting.
And that to me, I think,
Oh, so can you tell us a little bit more about how you actually program your subconscious mind?
So how I program my subconscious mind was offered to me by a friend, so I might be able to get the original book that it came in, but it's very simple. You say in a very direct voice, "Subconscious mind, I demand you to download me with inspirational insight on the third eye. I am now commanding my subconscious mind to please deliver ideas and inspiration around the third eye so that I can lay out chapter 6 of my upcoming book. Third eye, I demand you to bring information and insight into how I can communicate a healthy third eye to my community, to my family, and to teach myself how to live in alignment with the third eye." Very simple.
That's
And then
awesome.
and then you wake up, and then again, waking up and creating a place where you can drop in is again the second step after you command it, so that you're receptive and available to receive the information and the guidance.
That's so cool. I'll do that tonight. Thank you so much. Okay, so a little birdie told me, and you already mentioned that you're writing your next book. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I'm doing a chakra workbook, and it's inspired from the 11 chakra retreats that I've held around the globe. And what I'm doing is documenting the best practices from those retreats in a book. It's 7 chapters. Each chapter focuses on one chakra at a time. And at the very center of the story is a heroine. It's a girl who we witness in her weakest, most broken moments. And you're beckoned to join her as she picks herself up and begins to navigate her world now by finding her inner strength. And the chapters are completely different from each other. So she begins in her bedroom and she learns how to take care of herself. And then she moves into the bathroom and she learns to work with her mother and to let go of control. And then she goes to the kitchen and she speaks directly to her absent father. And then, with a fire in her belly and her anger. And she accidentally burns a hole in the kitchen wall. And that's when the trees come in and connect her to her heart. And then they lift her up into the studio of her house, and her world turns black and white. And she learns to express herself through her voice and through her art. And then she dances until the point of exhaustion and falls on the ground. And on the corner of her eye, she sees a key with a blinking eye. And she's led into the attic of her mind, where she works on her third eye. And then she organizes her life, designs her life, and then she makes it to the roof, where she now is connected to the divine. And as she looks back down through her body, she sees her entire system, her journey. And this is how we evolve and strengthen the chakra system.
That's incredible. What made you want to create this book?
I got a download, a creative download one day. And the moment I had this vision, everything else sort of paled in comparison. And it's been 3 years now that I've been talking about this book. And I met Rose Vanderkamp. She's now attended 3 of my transformational retreats. And when I spoke about the book, she saw it as an opportunity to come in and collaborate. And so with her help, I've found an angel. And so her and I will be going 50-50 on the book. I'll be doing the yoga and the graphic design, and she's going to be doing the art direction and the fashion. And we're building an entire set and filming it and photographing it.
Wow, that's beautiful. Do you already know when this book is going to come out, or what are the next steps coming up there?
Well, we need to raise $80,000 to print, produce, and distribute the book. So we're launching an Indiegogo campaign around January 5th. And people can pre-order the book at that time. And then if we raise the money, because it's an all or nothing thing, we have to reach our goal. When we reach our goal, then it'll be a year to produce it, and it should be ready by 2018.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. That's so incredible. So, can you tell us a little bit more about your creative process of creating something like this? You mentioned the download. So after a download, what happens next?
Well, after a download, it's all about co-creating with that. I mean, most likely when you're given a gift, such as an idea or a purpose, it's about how you co-collaborate with that. And a lot of times it means turning your life upside down. So I am taking another risk in my life. I'm declining all paid work, and I'm putting everything, I'm investing all of my time, all of my energy into this. And so it's going to be my baby. I mean, there's going to be labor pains. I've got to incubate it. I have to give it all of the love and the nurturing that I can. And then when it comes out into the world, then I just have to let it go, because at that point it has a life of its own.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Yeah, I can definitely relate to that being some kind of birth. I remember my first coach talking to me about that, and I didn't understand it at all. I was like, what? Birthing? No, that's really, I don't get that. But now that I've birthed a couple of things, it definitely makes sense with all the ups and downs and the contractions. You already mentioned one of the contractions being rejecting paid work and bringing in support from other people. What else has been challenging for you on this journey?
Well, one of the biggest revelations I've had recently is I thought that it was either my career or my relationships. And that was a mistake. Like, I can have it all. I can have a loving relationship and I can have a career. And that, in order to come to that realization, I had to address the very root of my core system, which was a belief around the fact that I was not deserving of love. And that was a huge lesson for me. and and to lose, a relationship, or to feel rejection, or to have regret around decisions that we've made, is a grievance period. And so there was a lot of pain that I had to suffer based on what I was creating. And I'm willing to let the blocks that I have around love down. I'm willing to let love into my life. And I'm willing to say that I am deserving of love. And to me, that was huge. So even though it was a challenge per se, I'm learning that I can't be afraid of the pain, that these lessons that come into my life, these teachers, these relationships, friends that I have, they are there to bring me closer to my truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that must have been a powerful initiation.
It has, yeah. And it's something, that I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the life design that I have, wanderlusting around the world, like, wasn't me running from commitment, running from this emptiness and this loneliness that I'm just now getting in touch with. And to feel hollow and to feel empty is painful.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to feel it. We can't keep running from it. And so that's really where I'm at right now, is that I'm kind of just now peeking my head out of something that felt very painful. And I'm starting over again, basically. And I'm excited. Like, I feel good, because I'm now ready to have love in my life. And I'm now ready to make decisions around my career to let that in. And I can have both of them.
Mm-hmm. I'm getting goosebumps even just listening to this, because I always feel like whenever I get a download, I know that it's more than just a project assignment. It's always an initiation. And there's always more. I can so relate to what you were saying, because I feel like every time I get a creative download, it's really more than that. It's never just a project assignment or a vision of what I'm meant to create. It's always really the spiritual initiation. I always know that I'm going to be triggered in ways I've never been before, and there's always something in my personal life coming up as well. So it's really it almost feels like this purification process for me. It's like every time I commit to a project, I know that I will be completely different and, much more whole and evolved as a human being and as a soul. But it's really incredible how much can come up after a download and after having committed to a project. And it's really cool to see also that it wasn't, an and or question. It was never, am I going to finish this project and wanderlust, or am I only going to focus on my relationships? So when I'm hearing that, it's really that this project was also really so close to your heart. So why is it important to you? Why are you so passionate about creating this book?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I heard it all, but did you ask a question at the end?
Yes. I asked, what makes you so passionate about this book? Why do you feel this needs to be created?
Um, well, just like you said, the creative process is an involvement of your spirituality, your sexuality, your creativity, and to study and to have all three of those energies together is a divine passage. It's soul work. And I really have asked that question because I didn't know for the longest time why I wanted to do this book. Was it because the acknowledgement felt good? Was it because I felt like in order to be worth something or of value, I had to offer a book? Those things I really looked at and sat with in my meditation. And what I'm kind of realizing right now is that there's a certain healing that I went through in my life that could help and inspire other people. And the inspiration that I know I'm able to communicate visually through my art, and even through the asana glyphs, the illustrations that I do, people love those. And I get so much feedback on just how they communicate charisma, or they communicate this sense of playfulness. And life is hard, you know, and it seems so silly that like illustrations or books could bring us joy, but it does. It brings me a lot of joy. And it's just something that naturally happens to me as I sit down on my mat with my journal, with my pen, and I draw these little figures and I play it in design. And so what else would I do?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it makes me happy.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. So how is it possible to support the book?
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you so much. You know, just being able to talk with you right now is bringing so much support, getting the word out to let people know that we're putting together an inspirational workbook that will help you open up your chakra systems. And it is an ancient science that we know literally works. And if you're feeling isolated, or you're too intimidated to go to a yoga class, or you don't have the money to come to one of my retreats because you have children, you have a full-time job, you know, whatever the reason is, we're creating something now that you can have in your hands, in your home, and you can work through it at your own pace. So donating to the Indiegogo campaign is the first step. And then within the year, you're going to get a book in your mail. And even before that, you can download chapter 6. So you can begin to start studying your third eye, which is going to be our entry point in right now. And even in India, this is the quickest way into our awakening. That's why they wear the bindi there. So we'll start with our perceptions. And yeah, thank you for asking.
Yeah, I'm so curious. I'm very excited about this. So I'm going to put the link to the Indiegogo campaign in the show notes. Make sure to check this out. And we're coming close to the end of our episode. I would love to ask you a couple more questions in just a quick fire round. So what's a quote you love right now?
It's a Rumi quote, something around the lines, I'll probably make Bridget, but let yourself be drawn silently. Can I actually look it up really quick?
Yeah, do it.
It's right. Yeah. Here it is. Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray.
That's spot on. It's beautiful. Who is someone you admire?
Someone that I admire. Maria Abramovich. She does a lot of work around her body, and she pushes her body physically to the and all in the sake of art. And so I love the piece where she wore a red dress and she sat in a museum and people could come and sit across from her, and all she did was stare into their eyes, and she brought presence. So I love contemporary art. I love things that like surrealism, that sort of shift the way that we see things. And I love stuff that uses the intelligence of the body to have breakthroughs.
That's really cool. I would also love to know, what's your latest obsession?
Are we back?
Yes. What's your latest obsession?
My latest obsession is green matcha. I love matcha.
So that was what you were referring to when you were talking about the tea ceremony. That's awesome.
Yes.
I cried when I got my first matcha
There's so
kit.
many health benefits with matcha, and it's a Japanese ritual.
That's so cool. I love it. Beautiful. What's the best advice you ever received?
Um, the best advice I ever received was take a warm bath, place your hands on your second chakra, and fill yourself up with gold.
That's good stuff. There's so many rituals and practices for tonight. I'm really excited. Thank you. So if people would like to get in touch
we got to
with
take care of ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. And if people would like to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
My website, jagoyoga.com, where my calendar is. And you can always email me directly. All emails come directly into my inbox, and I do my best to respond as quickly as I can. Facebook, Instagram, I'm even on Pinterest.
Awesome. Beautiful. All right. Thank you so much, Erica. It was a pleasure having you today. And everyone else, if you want to get the notes from the show, definitely go donate and get your copy of the book. Head on over to hannahbeer.com to get infos and all of that. Make sure to subscribe and have a lovely, wonderful week. Bye.
Thank you.